Good morning, Achievers. Ajit Sidhu here, and it's another beautiful day as always. Today, I'm going to be talking about something that's really important to me, and I would like to share this. So I don't know where this is going to go, but I don't know how long I will be going for. They usually say when I'm given the mic, I don't stop. So here I go. You can watch, if it's too long, watch it in portions, but this is really important, guys. So I'm gonna share my mind here. It's like almost like a brain dump I've had that I just feel like sharing with all my loved ones. The title of today, I thought it is how to increase your personal thermostat of success and achievement. Every single person in this world, every human in this world has set themselves a limit. We set ourselves a limit without us even knowing that we've set ourselves a limit. We might think we're limitless. We are invincible. We are invincible. But even if you're invincible, that's a limit. We've set ourselves a limit. And we want to push that limit. How do we push that limit? Why have we set ourselves a limit? So the first thing is, why have we set ourselves a limit? That's a protection mechanism that exists in humans. It's kind of like having a hot stove. When you have a hot stove and you don't know that by touching it you get burnt, what do you do as a child? You touch it, you get burnt, and then you never touch a hot stove again. Basically what happens is you have an experience. You see a hot stove, you look at it, you touch it, you have an experience, and then a story is formed in our head. And once that story is formed in our head, thinking if I touch a hot stove, I will get burnt, that's the story, then a belief is created. And that belief is a protection mechanism that will prevent us from touching the hot stove ever again. Same thing is true when we're trying to achieve anything, or we set ourselves a goal and we start moving forward, and as we're moving forward, we start feeling uncomfortable. We start feeling that, ooh, I might fail, life is not great, oh, this is not cool, this feels too tough, it was easier over here, I'll just go back over here and hang out here, I do not want to step out forward. The uncomfortable zone. That's our internal self that's inside of us, that comes up and pulls us back and doesn't allow us to move forward. It's kind of like when fishermen go out to fish for crabs, they're going to get crabs. They have a box that's really shallow box, about this high, and they chuck all these crabs in them. And as they're chucking all these crabs inside of the box, one crab decides to crawl out. And as it starts crawling out, all the rest of the crabs grab hold and pull the crab back. And I've mentioned this saying about the people that you hang out with. Because the people that you hang out with in a circle, as you start stepping forward, they will pull you back. However, that is true. However, there's also one other factor to that I didn't say. And I'm going to let you know now, because you know about the environment that you're in, the people that you hang out, the proximity that you have with the people will pull you back just like those crabs. But not only that, your internal self, your protection mechanism, is the second part that will pull you back, thinking, no. If you go to do this, you're going to fail. No. If you do this, you're going to become financially bankrupt. No. If you have a child, men, if you have a child, your life is going to be finished. Oh, I went through it. Trust me. It's what the internal mechanism. But once you push through that, and all of a sudden the business is a success, or you have your child and you're holding your child in your arm and you think, how did I live without this kid? I love him. That becomes a new story, because you've broken through. You've broken out of the crab box. That's what happens. So there's two factors here. There's one is your environment that you have to analyze, which I've mentioned previously in another video. But you always have to analyze who is with you, who are you surrounding with, what is their mindset like. But the second thing is your internal mechanism. What is your internal mechanism doing to you? Are they holding you? Are you holding yourself back? And the answer to that is yes, because it's an internal protection mechanism. And this is where I call it a thermostat. Now, at this moment of time in London, it's hot. It's cold. It's 5 degrees at the moment. Hence the hat. 5 degrees at the moment. And we set our thermostats in our house to about 21 degrees is nice and comfortable. 21, 22. To make sure, say 21 degrees is nice and comfortable in the house. So once you switched it on, the boilers switch on. The boilers are flaring up, and the boilers send out the hot water into the radiators, and the radiators heat up the house. And as it's heating up the house, the thermostat temperature goes from 18 degrees to 19 degrees, 20, 21, 22. Once it hits 22, the thermostat shuts down. It goes to 23, and then it comes back to 22, then 21. 19, the thermostat switches back on, and then it has to bring it back, and it just fluctuates around that area. Well, this thermostat is exactly like the beliefs, the internal limits that we've set. No matter what we do, sometimes we feel like we're stuck. The wall is there. Boom. We're trying to push. It's moving, but then, and we go back. It's exactly the same thing. It's a limit. It's our internal protection mechanism that sets that limit. What we need to do is change that internal mechanism. Move that mechanism up, the thermostat. You need to push it up. And once we push it up, that's how we achieve our goals. That's how we build our muscle. This is how progression happens, success happens. This is how the successful carry on becoming successful. Now, the question is, how do we set the thermostat to be higher? How do we do it? The only way we can do this is by knowing how we've set that. And I've just mentioned it previously. It's an experience you have. So any experience you have, like the hot stove, you're about to touch it, and you touch it, you get burnt, a story is formed in your head. Once a story is formed in your head, then not to touch the hot stove. If I touch a hot stove, I am going to get burnt because I've felt it before as a child, and I'm not going to do it, or I've seen someone do it, or I've touched something hot, and that's hot, so I'm not going to touch it. Internal mechanism kicks in, so we create a story, and that's our belief. So it's experience, story, belief, and the belief grows and grows and becomes solid. And now the belief is the strongest thing. Breaking the belief that we have is one of the hardest things. So when we start creating, once we have an experience and we start creating a story, we're feeding the belief over and over again. Now with experience, now this is where the gold nugget's about to come. So I'm going to throw you guys a couple of gold nuggets here. I'm juggling. Who's going to catch it? I think it's going to be you. Experience. Experience is external, outside factors that happen. So we can have an experience of trying to do something and we failed at doing it. That's an experience. The story, once we've done that experience, the story that's happening in our internal head, the question we ask, and then a story is formed, our internal chatter, talk, starts feeding the belief. Sometimes we cannot control the external experience. Sometimes we can't control the environment that we're in or the people that we hang out with. So that is feeding the entire cycle here. It's feeding it. And that's where people find it very tough. But if we learn this secret, then we can change everything and anything. And here comes the idea that can change the future. The experience, if we can create an experience, great, because that just feeds everything. But sometimes we can't. So now it's time to hijack the story. If we hijack the story right here, as we've had the experience and we hijack the story, we can create a belief that allows us to take action, not only any action, but massive action. But it's all about hijacking the story. And how do we hijack the story, you must be asking? Because here's the question now that's happening in everyone's head. You ask yourselves a question and you start answering, and that's what internal chatter is. So the question that everyone's asking now is, okay, Ajit, you are saying that we need to hijack the story from an experience that's happened, but hijack the story. How do we hijack the story? And your brain is probably clicking away thinking, how do we do it? Well, I'm Mr. Miyagi here. If you've been watching my videos, I've been doing the whole wax on, wax off, paint the fence. You know, all that stuff, it's been happening already. That story, you've been hijacking the story through all the stories that have been told. These are the reason why we listen to motivational stories. This is the reason why we listen to, this is probably the reason why you're listening to this, because I have so many stories that motivate you to be able to change the belief. Stories of Roger Bannister, 4-minute mile. He broke the 4-minute mile. He was the only one that broke. Years had gone past where people were trying to run and beat the 4-minute mile. But Roger Bannister, he did this process and he changed his story, and then he changed the belief, and he did it. And all of a sudden, once he did it, within 19 days, I believe 24 more students in his university did it, whereas over 100 years, no one had done it. That's a story that shows that we can do anything once we believe it. It solidifies what I'm talking about. The other stories, Arnold Schwarzenegger in poverty in World War II in Austria. He was set up for failure. But then all of a sudden he heard about this person who was a bodybuilder in America who became Hercules. And so he created a story in his head. And from that story, he decided, I want to take that exact story and replicate it. And he went to America. He became a bodybuilder. He won Mr. Olympia 7 times and became Hercules. But now he's done it. We can take that story and implant it like Matrix. Pop up the wire in the back of your head and download it so you can hijack the story. There's the other stories there's a story of John Reese. John Reese was the first one on the internet to make 1 million in one day. It never had been done. Once he did it, everyone started doing it. From that, Russell Brunson, he saw what John Reese had done, selling a product on the internet and how he did it. He decided that he wanted to make 1 million in an hour, and he did it. He made 1 million in an hour. And just recently, last year, I believe, he decided that he wanted to make 3 million in 90 minutes, and he did it. He broke it, and I believe he's going to try breaking it again this year. There's also Tom Cruise. Tom Cruise, I told a story about Tom Cruise, how he was dyslexic, can't read. But the way he changed his own internal story, he could have said, I can't read, I can't be an actor. No, that's it, I'm finished. No, he changed it. He found a way. How did he change the story in his head? He started making pictures. He started creating. Once he started creating these little stories, he was able to remember the lines. And from that, he progressed to become a superstar. Now, that again, download into us. There's Richard Branson, a school dropout. He's also dyslexic as well. A school dropout, dyslexic, but created all these businesses, an entrepreneur billionaire. How did he do it? Because he created a story for himself. And so, there's another one. Come on guys, I'm downloading all these gold nuggets. It's a story, we're hijacking the story. Once we've hijacked the story, our beliefs change. We see that it's possible. In everything that we want to achieve, someone else has already achieved it. All you have to do is find that story, read that story and put it into our own head. And once we've immersed ourselves, follow the path of how they did it. And that is a huge secret. It's not even a gold nugget there. That's a gold bar right there. Here, have that gold bar. Take it, take care of it. Download it like the Matrix in your head. This is it. Once we know that we can change everything, change our beliefs by a story, then anything's possible. Anything is possible. Is this making sense? Are you guys getting this? Because this is huge. Let's go to the next point, but that's going to go in your mind. The next question you're going to say is, that's great, Ajit. Excuse me. That's great, Ajit. You're saying all this stuff. It seems like you know your stuff, but it's not happening. So you start doing this and you're going to come to a point where you're going to feel like it's not happening. But just remember, God's delays on God's denials. We will be tested. When we start walking down this path, we will be tested. We will feel the pain. We will feel uncomfortable. That's just given. It's given. Anyone who's ever achieved, if you ask them, was it easy? They're going to say, no, it was tough. It was very, very tough. But all we're doing at this point, because the journey is actually the success. The outcome, the end goal, once you've reached it, you've reached it. And you get bored and you think, what shall I do next? So the journey is the key here. And we have to build our muscle. We have to become strong in this. It's like going to the gym. We don't just wake up in the morning and think, whoa, check this out. I'm going to have a Starbucks mocha frappuccino and then have a donut. And then the next day wake up and I'm Dwayne Johnson or Arnold Schwarzenegger. It doesn't work like that. You have to go to the gym. You have to work out daily. You have to measure. You have to eat healthy. You have to be strict. And then, as time goes past, you get the physique that you want. That's why they also say that the first million, and this is absolutely true, the first million is always, making the first million is harder than making the second million. The reason why they say that is because the first million, you're pushing the boulder uphill. And once you reach that million, you push the boulder down, you're at a new level. Now, you've got the strength to be able to push that boulder up again. That's why the second million and the third million is easier. That's why the rich keep getting richer. That's why the achievers keep achieving. Because they keep moving forward. They keep progressing. This is something that we have to really think about, because the uncomfortable zone that we're feeling, all you have to just remember is you're pushing the thermostat up. You're increasing the thermostat. If we stop and go back, we didn't increase our thermostat. That's just us taking a step out and think, whoa, let's go back. The thermostat has not increased. The only way the thermostat's going to increase from 21 degrees to 30 degrees is when you step out and stay there and immerse yourself in the uncomfortable zone. Feel the pain. Keep pushing through it forward. Keep pushing forward. I always say this in my nursery. I say we are playing in the pros. When we're in the environment that we're in and we're pushing ourselves on a daily basis, learning, progressing, and then calling in external people to train us and to putting in practice and having these meetings, what happens? We think that it's normal, but when you step out and then check out the other people or the other nurseries, we realize we are beasts. And I always say, everybody wants to be a beast until it's time to do what beasts need to do. And the only way we're going to become beasts is by being in an environment that's uncomfortable. If you're not uncomfortable, you're either static or dying. And if you're static, that means your thermostat is set to 21 degrees. If you're going to try achieving a higher wage, salary in your work from say you're 20,000 and you want to hit 30,000, you won't achieve that, because when you step out in the uncomfortable zone, you won't be able to, you won't have the skills or the ability, because you haven't pushed the thermostat up, and you'll drop back down to the 20,000 mark. What you do need to do is become uncomfortable. Start pushing yourself, and take yourself to the 30,000 mark and stay in that zone and don't drop back down. And that's such key importance. And when it comes to now I'm going to go off on a ramble here slightly. Here it comes, people. Here comes the Ajit. Off he goes, off track. When it comes to adding value at your work, Don't be a Mimi. Don't expect everything to come to you. Don't expect to go for a position and say, oh, I'm in this position now. I should be getting paid £30,000. I should be getting paid £40,000. Do it for free. Seriously, do it for free. If you're in a job, do much more. Show. Hi guys, got cut off. You got to show yourself that you're doing much more. And this is so important. You have to show that you're doing so much more, because if you're not showing that you're doing much more, you're not increasing the thermostat. The only way you are going to achieve, the thermostat to be pushed up is by doing it for free first. Because if you are putting in the time, the effort, then you can achieve. There's a quick story about a person who wanted a job in a shop, and they would not hire this teenager. He was a 16-year-old, and he wanted to work in the summer. He wanted to work in the shop because it was the best shop, and it was so friendly and it was so much fun. So what he went to do is he went in and he said to the manager, "Do you mind if I just fold the clothes up for you for free?" And the manager was dubious, like, "Well, why do you want to do that?" And he goes, "Well, it's just because it seems like you need some help." And so he started folding the clothes up for free. After 3 hours went, next day he came back, he did the same thing, swept the floor, folded it. The manager could see how much value this person was bringing, how he's interacting with everyone. And as he was walking out, the manager said, "Do you want a job?" And the boy turned around and says, "Yes, I do." He didn't have to go through an interview process. He showed that his thermostat was high. He showed that he had great customer service. He showed that he could do the job. And he was hired on the spot just like that. That's what we have to do. Do not be a Mimi. Do not expect everything to come to you. Do not expect life to just hand things over to you, because it's a test. Life is a test. Life is a game. It's not even a test. It's a game. You've got to play. You've got to play it. You just got to keep moving forward. But you've got to realize that it's going to be tough. Can you imagine the movie Cars? If you guys have seen the movie Cars, anyone that's seen the movie Cars, you know that there's going to be a certain situation where you've got character, desire for outcome and conflict. But can you imagine Lightning McQueen in the first opening scene, him driving around against Chick Hicks and the King, and all of a sudden he's driving and he decides not to change his tires, and he says to everyone, "I don't need you guys, I'm going to win," and he pushes it, he hits it, and he wins the Piston Cup. Would that be a good story? Could you imagine Rocky, who's working in a meat shop, very poor, and says, "Oh, look, there's Apollo Creed here. I'm going to go fight this Apollo Creed dude, and I might as well just do it for a laugh." Boom, boom, bam. Apollo Creed's out. Rocky wins. Would you watch the film? No. We watch movies for the conflict. We watch the movie for the transformation that happens. That happens to every single person that's in an uncomfortable zone. So when you are actually in the uncomfortable zone and you're transforming yourself, you're building yourself, there's the conflict. That's your story. That's the interesting part. That's what we watch the movies for. This is it. Once we're in that zone, this is the main part of your movie, your self-movie. This is it. Get uncomfortable. Because if you're just sitting in the comfortable zone, nobody wants to watch that movie. I doubt you even want to watch the movie. So make your movie awesome, people. And the other thing that I always say is, like I said, I'm going off on a ramble. You might have to watch this a couple of times because there's so many gold nuggets here. Just take them. It's just on the table. Just pick them. Pick the big piece over here. There's a smaller piece over here. Just pick them. If you're not growing, you are dying. This is so true. If you have progressed to a certain point and you're not learning anymore, you're not pushing yourself, society, environment, world will keep progressing. Internet will keep pushing things forward. Business will keep moving forward. Everyone else who's learning, your competitors or your colleagues in this game of life, will keep growing and you'll be left. So you might be thinking, I'm okay, I'm nice and comfortable here, I'm cool. But what's actually happening is you're going down. You're going down to the point where you're going to become obsolete. An old version, a version that nobody needs anymore. A version like I don't know, the iPod or MP3 players or the Walkman. The time I was alive, I've been in the time when we had the Walkman. Don't be the Walkman. Don't be the MP3 players or the MP4 players, whichever it was. You don't even want to be the iPods anymore. It's all about the iPhones and the new technology, the iPads. Progression occurs. Thermostat keeps pushing. We got to keep pushing the thermostat to be able to keep up with all the changes, to be recognized, to be able to not become obsolete. That is a huge thing. So we've spoken about, just quickly I'm going to go through, we've spoken about our thermostat, the personal thermostat of success. We've spoken about the experience, the story, and the belief. That's how it's created, the thermostat, our limit that we've set. And experience, have great experience, do great experience, immerse yourself with be in proximity, be around people that are awesome and motivational, but sometimes you just can't. You're in that environment that you can't, like Alan Sugar, who was he was brought up in an environment that was not the best. But the story is where you hijack. You get into the story. You hijack your brain through the stories, inspirational stories. Watch these stories. Anything you do, create your own stories, visualize, affirmations, they're all creating stories. And don't put negative stories in. Don't watch the news. Don't watch the Facebook feeds where people say this happened and this business has failed and that's happened and this parent has failed and has ended up in jail. But don't watch that. Don't listen to that, because that's hijacking the story in the wrong way. Switch off the news. Do not watch the news. Do not listen to the radio. I am going to do another one, another Facebook Live, another series, let's say, where I'm going to talk about net time and how to be much more productive. I was going to do it here, but this is going too long now. You guys are going to be switching. You probably are. I've already switched off. But do not switch off. These are gold nuggets. This is where change happens. This idea. One idea can change everything. So we've spoken about that, but we've also spoken about how when we're in the uncomfortable zone, how God's delays are God's denials. And we have to go through the uncomfortable zone, because that's what makes the movie so interesting. That's where it is. That's where the transformation happens. You don't want to watch a rubbish movie. You don't want to watch a movie where the Marvel heroes all gang up and beat whoever the baddie just like that. You want to see the conflict, the part where there's almost finished, and then they rise up as a new person to take on the bad guys. Because life is just a game, and with all this new information that you're downloading, stick it in the back like Matrix. Become Neo. Just do it, and use all these stories to hijack the story and create your belief. And just remember, we are being tested, because there is a saying, and this saying is so powerful. Only if you are worthy of the cause will you be granted the rewards. So only if you are worthy of the cause will you be granted the rewards. This saying has been said by a very intelligent person, someone who cares so much, a pretty nice guy. I'm going to quote that, quote that person. It's been said by me. I made that saying up. So do it. Keep moving forward. So I'm going to finish there, because it's just a complete ramble today. Add value to people's lives. Keep having fun. Push the thermostat, your self-thermostat up. Get in the uncomfortable zone. Keep moving forward. Create the stories. Get the stories, the positive stories, the motivational stories. And just remember, we're just one idea away from changing the future. Love you. See you later. Bye.